Hey everybody, Patrick here. Today I'm going to go through and review my predictions that I made for week 1 of ProQuest, and then also take a look at the results we had and make some updates to what I think is the current state of the meta and the strong and weak decks and all that. And then also go through and make some predictions on what I think is going to happen in week 2. So starting off, this is what I have. This is my set of predictions I made, all in their different brackets or tiers or whatever I'm going to call them. And then I'm going to take a look at this nice little infographic that shows all the results we had, all the winners for the ProQuests. And I think I got it pretty close. So what I'm going to do now is take a look and combine the two. I'm gonna start off here though. I'm gonna start off with what I have, and like I said, I think I got it pretty close. I don't think there's anything there's a few surprises, but for the most part, some of the moves that I thought were gonna happen did happen. So we're gonna take a look at best deck and format, and surprise, no surprise, Aurora is there. Aurora is the best aggressive deck in the format. She is contesting for best deck in format, period, against Enigma. I think both Enigma and Aurora are very strong decks that are able to attack the meta in different ways. I think that if we're going to sort of talk about this, the shape of the top of the meta, I'm going to talk about the sort of meta square, like 4 different corners or 4 different pillars, whatever you want to call them. And Aurora's going to be the best aggressive deck. Enigma's going to be the best slower deck, and they both just choke out a bunch of other decks in the format. So next, let's take a look at what I'm calling contenders. And we're going to start by taking a look at these two. We're going to take a look at Azalea and Nu. And you also saw Viserai Jump. I'll talk about that in a second. But Azalea and Nu sort of exist in this other, this other corner, this other pillar as the control decks. Azalea is a little more aggressive and Nu is a little bit more defensive. And they obviously have their own set of matchups and weaknesses here and there, but they do exist as the control decks. Azalea got 10 wins. I was one of those 10 wins. And then I think Nu got 9 wins. So you can see, roughly each corner has somewhere around 20 wins. That's what I'm trying to sort of shape out here. And I think they're going to continue to perform. I think these are both really good decks. They're probably going to sit somewhere around the same number, but they each have their own sets of strengths and weaknesses. Azalea is, I think, poor into Aurora, and then good into Enigma, and then vice versa. Nu is, I think, better into Aurora, but weaker into Enigma. So they have trade-offs here and there. Next, we're going to talk about what I consider classify as mid-range, but I think that Viserai and Florian can only exist as mid-range because they offer split damage. And I do think that these two decks share a lot of the same player base, honestly. I think that Viserai is more aggressive. He has a better sort of spiky setup combo turns. And then Florian's a little bit slower, more defensive, more disruptive actually. And then sort of scales up and ramps up into the second half of the game where he can start to grind a little bit. But these two exist as what I'm calling the mid-range pillar. So there's 4 now. We have Aurora is the aggressive pillar. Enigma is the slower pillar. Azalea and Nu is the more control pillar. And then Viserai and Florian as the mid-range pillar. So that's what I'm seeing the sort of top of the meta look like, and what people should be expecting to play against in the top tables, or at least prepare for when they're sideboarding and setting up their sideboard plans and they're choosing their decks. Okay, next I'm going to take a look at these 2 brackets or these 2 tiers, and I need to correct them. So unproven slash meta calls was bulked together. And then we had specialists in its own tier. I'm going to move it around. So we have meta calls and specialists now existing together, and unproven is moving down into its own tier. I'm doing that because unproven is a lot more, it requires a lot more proof, right? Because we actually have results. So now there's decks that have not shown up, not given results, that now have even more to prove in order to say, yeah, I'm a real deck in this format. Okay, but let's take a look at this meta calls specialist. And I'm going to start off with meta calls. It's on the top there. And things are going to shuffle around in a second. So Zen, Dash, and KO. I think these are all meta calls. I think I was wrong about Zen. I was a little bit unknown, a little bit shaky on him, but I think that he's shown that he's a real deck. He won three PQs over the weekend, and I don't think he's a specialist deck. I think that his game plan is, you don't need 1,000 games into him. His game plan just rewards fundamentals. Same with Dash, same with KO. Obviously more reps are better, but I think that they have game plans and play patterns that will reward solid basic understanding of the game. And they're meta calls because you can't bring them into any meta. Like I think that, for example, and I'm not going to go through every single hero here or every single matchup, but if the field is all Auroras, you can't bring Zen because you're just going to get stomped by the better aggressive deck. Vice versa, if the field is all Enigmas, yeah, bring Zen. He has a great matchup. He goes wide, he stops them from being able to establish a board, and he can just make them, have to play their number game, which is going to be weaker than yours. So he can be a good call. And then that same story is for Dash and for KO. They're just meta calls. Next, can take a look at specialists, and we have these four. We have Bolton, Kano, Levia, and Prism. And these four have sort of always been specialists. Bolton showed that he is still a real deck. I think he won 3 Pro Quests, which is great number for him. Kano always seems to show up in some number for these Pro Quests. Same with Levia. Well, maybe not same with Levia, but same with Prism. And yeah, they're just good choices if you have thousands of games into these, because they're great at leveraging those reps. When you sit down and you say, yeah, I have 100 games in this matchup, and your opponent has like 3, Kano is going to say, yeah, I know how to win this game. And your opponent's going to say, I think I know how to win this game. I think I might know how to win this game. But then you just find the exact line to, weave through, dip, duck, and dodge kind of thing. And then you come out with the win, when realistically, if both sides had equal reps, then you would probably lose that. But you're just, you're a specialist. You're leveraging your knowledge through reps. And I think these 4 are great choices for that. But they're also a little bit of meta calls. You need to know when to bring them and when not to. Or you just love them so much you bring them. Okay, let's take a look at what I'm calling Unproven. And this was the one that got bumped down. And these are just decks that I think have potential, but need actual results for them to show up in be considered more. So we're going to start off with, Dash.io here. And she's in this tier because we're still just waiting for her armory deck. And that's the idea. She is unproven until she actually gets the new cards and then says, yeah, I'm a powerful, aggressive force to be reckoned with. And it's not just testing, it's not just theory, but she actually shows up. And until then, she's just unproven. We need to see her actually put up results. So, but don't be surprised. Week 3, if you match into a Dash.io, you should be prepared, I think. It is going to be a scary deck once it's out, but still unproven. We'll see. Okay, next, Verdance. And I think Verdance is a little bit more difficult to build and play, but people are starting to figure it out. She got 1 win on week 1, and I would not be surprised if that number just slowly, goes up and up and up over the next 4 weeks, and then even shows up in like Worlds in some good number. I think that she has a very, very strong game plan into a lot of decks, but it needs to be crafted, it needs to be discovered, and it needs to be built for. And people are just starting to get to that. So I do expect her to continue to do better and better, but we do need to see proof. So be on the lookout for her. Next, I'm going to talk about these 4 all at once because they're kind of existing in the same sort of pocket here. They all have better decks that are higher up. They're just kind of like almost strictly better. Like, Nu is a better assassin than Azuri. I think there's 3 better Rune Blades than Vincent. I think specifically Viscerai is doing what Vincent does, but better. And then we have Zen, who's just a better Fi, I think. And then Dash.io, who's basically just a better max, right? You have a better boost plan, and you have a stronger sort of setup plan with your slab, your item setup. So yeah, I think these 4 are like, maybe they'll show up in some number, but I think you just have better options, and they're, prove me wrong, but that's why they're in this bracket. And then next, these 2 are really weird with Dorinthia and Victor. I think Dory got 1 win. I don't know if it was Hatches or Dawnblade, but these 2 are strong decks when they're strong decks when they actually have a little more hospitable meta for them. But right now, both Warrior and Guardian are just bad in this meta. I wouldn't say don't play them because they're still strong, but it's so tough to really place these. So they kind of exist in this limbo. If I had 1 more row here, they'd be in like the shoulder shrug kind of tier. I don't think they're they're not don't play, but like you probably shouldn't play them. Anyways, let's move on from them. Next, we have the actual don't plays, and this hasn't changed. Fi escaped this because he managed to get a win, so I can't say don't play him, but I think a really good player managed to bump him out of this tier and get him a win. So yeah, these are can't really recommend them. Maybe maybe some of them will, get wins. I think that Acilio is like, as people learn how to play him and get, this a couple hundred games on him, people have just been grinding him. I think he could get a win. Same with Teklo. Teklo is just like, if he hits the right meta, he can just crush. But I don't know. I don't say don't play these, like, unless you have a very good reason to. And that good reason could be like, oh, I love playing this hero. That's a perfectly fine reason. Go have fun, like win some games, win a PQ, do it. But they're still in the don't play tier. Okay, and that's it. That is the update. This is what we're looking at right now. This is what we're expecting. I think I kind of laid out the top sort of meta square that's happening at the top with our aggro, slow, disruptive, mid range sort of pillars, and then made a few comments about the specialists and the unproven stuff and what to expect. But let me just sort of lock in my predictions for next week. I think that these 10 heroes are going to be the ones that I'm sort of most excited to see, or most expecting to see sort of rise up and do well. Other ones are still going to get wins. But let me just sort of speak through this a little bit because there might be some outliers here. So I think that Aurora and Enigma they're going to continue to vie for that top slot. I think that Azalea and New aren't really going anywhere. I think they're very strong decks. Viserai, I think people are going to shift off of Florian. I think that the player base that's split between Viserai, Florian, and Verdance are going to just move off of Florian. I think that Viserai is a better Rune Blade, a better setup deck. Just has permanent, like, yeah, I think he just has a better deck in general, but I could be wrong. I'm not the most practiced Florian player. And then similarly, I think that Verdance just offers what Florian does, except for stronger. I think that the fact that Verdance can just like combo people from 30 at the same time, like at the same sort of pace that, Florian gets hero power online, is the same time that Verdance is just like, well, take 30. So I don't know. I'm not seeing much of a reason to play Florian, and I would not be surprised if he dipped down. I think right now he's just kind of existing on the fact that he is a good mid-range deck that can just get wins if you have solid game fundamentals. And then the meta call specialist here, I do think that Zen is still just going to continue to show up as the meta call. I think that he's a good deck. I think he can block fairly well, play these sort of like mid-range hands fairly well, but his strength is just being able to go super wide and just have these like use his full hand every single turn and just pump numbers against like Enigmas. And then yeah, the specialists I think are going to continue to show here with Bolton, Kano, and Prism. I don't expect them to go like crazy, but I think that they're still going to exist. Maybe the one that could go crazy is Kano. If all the Kano players decide to show up next weekend because, he only got 2 wins where traditionally gets like, like 20 or like 15 or whatever, then all the Kano players show up and people aren't running their AB. Yeah, he's going to collect some wins. So I would not be surprised if he just, collected like 10, 15 wins next weekend because people just disrespect him for 1 week and then the meta reacts and all that fun stuff. Yeah, really excited to watch, the meta change in week 2. It's always a blast to watch PQ season evolve week to week. It is so fluid and so reactive, and it's fun just trying to make these predictions and, get them right, get them wrong. But good luck out there and have fun.